What distinguishes industrial design from craft-based design is that it's separate from manufacturing. The creative act, to a large extent, determines the popularity of a product. My colleague Cui Huiyao spoke to world-renowned designer Florin Baeriswyl, who shares his insight on the importance of design in branding.
Hi, Professor Baeriswyl. Thanks very much for taking the time for the interview. With the opening of CIIF, let's talk about industrial design, which is a very hot topic at the moment. You're clearly an expert on branding. What do you see as the relationship between design and branding?
You know, actually, it's a very good question because this is crucial in China. China is, in the past, copying design. Nowadays, they want to go into innovation and creation. So, in between, life changed. At 15, 20 years ago, design was building the brand, and nowadays it's the other way around. So the brand strategy defines what the design should look like.
Well, you once said that you don't need to know what a brand is, you need to know who a brand is. You're a strong believer in the idea that, very much like human beings, products have a personality as well. What do you mean by that?
Most of the people, they don't know what a brand is. They say, well, a brand is a label, but brand is culture. Brand builds emotions.
Any examples?
Well, you know, it's like, as I say, if you look, for instance, for airlines, every airline has a different personality. Singapore reflects a different personality, and this goes up to the hostess, that goes through the colors, that goes to the food offering, as for instance, Swiss. So Swiss is a different DNA, has a different perspective, has a different experience.
And talking about Switzerland, you are from Switzerland yourself and you're running a studio in Shanghai. What do you think is the so-called Swiss expertise that will help local companies create a successful brand in the global market?
Switzerland is a very tiny, small country. So Swiss are trained, educated to fulfill perfection. So quality is the foundation of every brand. So we learn already from small kids to achieve a certain quality. And this is the global understanding in the world is about quality. So we can provide a lot because we are working since more than 150 years in product design, in branding, and build up world-famous brands through our small country.
As we know, the city is seeking to become an international hub with global influence. However, the reality is very few Chinese brands are listed in the world's 100 most important brands. What do you think is the biggest obstacle for Chinese brands?
The local designers, they try to think in shapes. They think from the product outside to the inside.
What do you mean by outside to the inside?
That means, first of all, it's form and follows function. So actually, first is form and not the function. But we
consider the function first and then the form.
And then the shape. You know, it's like you get dressed. What is your function? When you go for sports, you have a different dress than you do an interview. So it's the same for a product, because products sometimes just look fancy, crazy, or a little bit spacey, but it's not part of their functionality, semantics.
So you think their lack of awareness about functionality constrains?
I think they're catching up very fast. And if you look, I visited design centers here, so you have a lot of, it's a great mix of international designers with local designers. So it's a good exchange. There are kind of industrial parks. You have more than 5,000 designers working there. Also in animation, in design, in interiors, and so on. So China is really catching up very fast.
Thanks very much for taking the time for the interview.
Pleasure.